Join us at communityofveterans.org and connect to others who are going through the same thing. Brought to you by Iraq and Afghanistan, to America, and the Ad Council.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Welcome in, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network. Recruit Nuts calling all recruit nuts. You know what today is. You know what tomorrow is. It's the eve of December, National Signing Day, and we're here to catch you up and get you ready for everything that's going to happen tomorrow that we know about and what might happen tomorrow that we don't know about. There be a surprise or two out there waiting in the weeds for the Gamecocks, the Tigers? I don't know. Clemson looks pretty well set with their class. There's maybe a couple of things hanging out there for Clemson. South Carolina, pretty well set with their high school group. Their portal group remains a little bit in flux. We're going to talk all about that coming up tonight here on Sports Talk. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to reach us here on the program. Phil Kornbluth, Pat Daniel at our Columbia studios. Chris Bergen, probably, let's see, it's 6:06 here, and they flew out of Charleston about 5:45 this morning for Honolulu. My guess is he's sitting on a beach somewhere in Hawaii. I saw pictures of the coastal football team having landed in Hawaii. Of course, they went out yesterday. And the shot from their hotel right on the beach. You ever been to Hawaii, Pat? Never? Yeah, same here. Would like to. One thing Bergie's going to do is visit the Pearl Harbor, of course, the Pearl Harbor and the Arizona Museum and exhibit museum. So it's not only going to be a work trip for him with the Chanticleers, but a little vacation and also some education as well. We won't be hearing from him while he's out there because, well, first of all, the time's not going to work real well. They don't play when they play their game. It's like 10:30 our time. I think that's like 5:30 or so local time, 10:30 our time when the Chants play their game. So the stage is set now for National Signing Day December version tomorrow. And I think the big news of the day, well, first of all, Clemson got a couple of commitments from guys that you're not going to go wow over because they're typical late recruiting season Dabo Swinney signees. You know, he always has a guy or two, not heavily recruited. Maybe there's a connection to him through a dad or a mom or a family member, but they're good football players, and they don't come in and hurt you. You don't have to worry about them academically. You don't have to worry about them transferring. They're going to be all in from the day they step on campus. They're not necessarily all that heavily recruited. And that's the case of the two guys that the Tigers signed today or got commitments from today. One is a safety out of Rome, Georgia, Joe Wilkerson, who had been committed to Appalachian State. He's the second player the Tigers have flipped from Appalachian State. So, you know, make of that as you will. I think that, to me, best gauge of what college coaches think about you, the best gauge is the offers that you have, the committable offers that you have. Where could you have gone? But then again, as we've seen, players transferring up, just because you start out on the FCS or the group of five level or Division II, it doesn't mean that you are assigned that for your entire career, not if you develop and become a better football player. So in this particular case, they got a young man here. I think there's some connections between his family and Sweeney somewhere in the background there. And they offered him late. He came in for a visit last weekend, and he decommitted from Appalachian yesterday, commits to Clemson today. And so his offer list was not overwhelming by any means. But good-looking player on the hoof, like 6'2", about 210 pounds, I think. Somebody that you think you can probably develop. And one day, it's like a Nolan Turner. Remember Nolan Turner when Clemson signed him? Because, well, number one, they liked him as a football player, but number two, his dad and Sweeney had been, I think, teammates, if not roommates, at Alabama. I think he turned out to be a pretty good football player after some time at Clemson. So that's one. And then the Tigers also today got a commitment from a linebacker, not heavily recruited, from Olney, Maryland, by the name of C.J. Kuba Taylor. Again, a guy that looks good on paper. He's got good size, but does not have an overwhelming offer list that you're going to go, wow, beat Ohio State, beat Alabama, beat Michigan. No, not the case. But a guy that might have been a late bloomer, a late developer. He was not the linebacker that the Tigers wanted originally in this class. They had their eyes set on Bradley Shaw. Looks like out of Hoover, Alabama. Looks like he might be headed to Arkansas or somewhere else. So they brought in C.J. Kuba Taylor for a visit over the weekend. They offered him at the beginning of the visit and ended up getting his commitment today. So, again, another guy that's not all that heavily recruited, but a guy that they think, no doubt, they can develop into a quality player in the years to come. So that is the incoming news for Clemson. The outcoming news is that their safety, one of their safeties, Landon Zanders, is in the portal, played in 25 games, had 41 tackles over the years. Did he miss all of this season?
Yeah, I was about to jump in if you did not mention him, and let's make sure we represent this right. He retired from football.
That's right, yeah.
He had previously retired. He suffered 3 different significant shoulder injuries and was still, I believe, a student at Clemson, and it graduated, but has eligibility remaining, but had officially, at the time, retired from football. But now he posted a statement today that he's still got the itch, and I guess good for him, has been medically cleared, which is terrific news, but he will be going somewhere else. It will not be playing at Clemson.
Okay. The other big news today that we hit on with what's happened with South Carolina and their portal their portal recruiting of quarterbacks, what happened there with A.J. Swan, ended up not coming to South Carolina, but going to LSU, announcing that yesterday. So that puts South Carolina back in the market looking for a quarterback. And Malachi Nelson told us this afternoon that he has interest in South Carolina. And then it was later reported by Brad Crawford of 24/7 Sports that there had been contact between South Carolina and Nelson and some other schools. And, the fact that Nelson corresponded with me, said he is interested, said that, he has seen how South Carolina has produced quarterbacks. Obviously, he's thinking of Spencer Rattler. But this is a major talent. Boy, if South Carolina could get their hands on this guy, there's no question this is a major talent. If my memory's right, I think he skipped. Did he not come out early? Didn't he move up and maybe skipped a year, skipped his last year of high school, went to Southern Cal, only played in one game this year. So they redshirted him, but he only played in one game, only threw 3 passes. But in high school, he threw like 70 touchdown passes to 17 interceptions, had over 5,000 passing yards. From California, he's a California kid. So, and we'll see where this leads for South Carolina if they can become more involved with him, get him in for a visit. Now, it's dead right now, but there is another week open for transfer visits beginning January 2nd. So you'll have some time to bring them in then, whatever visits you can line up out of the portal. I believe that begins on January 2nd and lasts for about a week, I think. So they'll have a chance to bring in some others. And it's only transfers. It's not any of the high school guys at that point. But how interesting would that be if South Carolina could get that's seriously involved with one of the nation's top quarterbacks from the 2023 class. Get him on campus. And again, I see, people reacting. Well, what about Lenore Sellers? What about Lenore Sellers? Well, I mean, listen, he's coming out of high school, and the little bit that you saw of him at South Carolina this season, he showed flashes. He's got ability, no question about it. But they've got to. I think they are determined to add a veteran quarterback to their quarterback room because they are so young. I mean, look at Clemson. Clemson was in the same boat this year, really, when you think about it, because all you had was Klubnik in terms of, and he wasn't a veteran. He played a little bit here, a little bit there last year before he took over in the ACC championship game in the bowl game. But that was pretty much the extent of it. Yeah, he had some emergency duty here and there, but not all that much. Then behind him, you really had nobody who had played anything. So, and then, of course, they chose not to do anything about it. They brought in Paul Tyson, but we all know that was nothing more than just to, again, as Sweeney has explained, Tyson wants to be a coach, and they're going to keep his arm limber, his arm loose, but they didn't expect him to play when they brought him in, and they're not expecting him to play moving forward. You got Trent Pierman as well, but they, Clemson did not address their quarterback room then or now when it comes to another quarterback out of the portal. For that matter, Clemson hasn't addressed anything on their team out of the portal at this point. Right now, they've just got high school commitments. They don't have any junior college transfers or any portal transfers to speak of. So there is still one hanging out there. I need to check on him to see if anything has happened with him. Addison Nichols, to transfer from Tennessee. If you get a chance, take a gander on Twitter at that, Pat, and see if he's done anything. Hadn't seen anything as of the time I left the house this afternoon. So that would be one that they're after. And of course, they do have the Duke commitment that they are trying to flip from Duke, the offensive lineman, and who is in for an official visit. That would be, but that's not a transfer situation. That is just a true high school guy who you're trying to flip from Duke because of the coaching change at Duke, Mason Wade, and we still don't have any word from him. Going to sign tomorrow. I'm seeing here he just tweeted signing day tomorrow, 3:15. But I would imagine, so you got to remember when kids put out these times like 3:15, 4 o'clock, by and large, they've already signed and sent their papers in, and the school's going to announce them. They're just going to have a ceremonial signing at the school. Dabo Swinney gets things done earlier than 3:15. I think he has his press conference around. Of course, he can always, not mention anything and say we're still waiting on somebody. But 3:15 is when Mason Wade plans to do his thing tomorrow. What you got, Pat? See something?
I was just going to say, we're trying to read the tea leaves here a little bit with Dabo Swinney and what he has said in the past regarding the transfer portal. Now, I know last year was a little different circumstance because the Tigers were actually over the threshold of scholarship, so they didn't really have the flexibility to even try to go out if they wanted to bring in some guys from the portal. But Dabo Swinney did mention that this year he might try to. I can't help but wonder if he's waiting until after the spring, because he does always talk about how much he likes to put an emphasis on the guys he recruits and the incoming players. And now if he waits until after the spring, he'll have a better assessment of where his program is actually going into the season.
Well, here we go. Addison Nichols, just seeing this, he committed to Arkansas, where he took an official visit over the weekend after visiting Clemson prior to going to Arkansas. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Clemson has failed miserably in recruiting the portal. Maybe it's because they don't make a true effort with these guys. Maybe it's the NIL deals aren't great enough. But everywhere they have reached since the portal came into play, and that they've stuck their toe in the portal sewage water. That's my terms. They've missed. So here's another one that they at one point, I guess, felt good about, but they don't get him. He's going to go to Arkansas. So
do we know if official offers go out? Like, is it reported as much as when we hear about high school recruits, if Clemson or South Carolina or Coastal, like, do we know how many of these young men Clemson officially offered a scholarship to?
Well, I don't think you bring them in. A transfer is not coming unless he's been offered. He's not coming on a visit unless he's been offered or know he's going to get an offer, because that's a waste of his time. He's transferring to find another place. He's already got a place. He's leaving a place. So he's not coming if you're not going to make him an offer. So you can, and one thing about transfers, they basically go dark. Most 99% of them, except, behind the scenes type stuff where they've got people around them who are leaking stuff, but they themselves, 99% of them just go absolutely dark. You can't get anything from them. They don't post anything until they make a decision. They don't really talk about their visits. They don't talk about their offers all that much. Some do, not many. I'd say 99% don't. And so, again, yeah, this is one Clemson wanted because they lose Will Putnam at center. This guy can play center. He's an interior lineman. He's a center. And they had him in for a visit. They had to kind of get him in sort of last minute. They kind of got him a little bit late and got him in on Friday or Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. He left on. Then he went Friday out to Arkansas. See, Arkansas had the last visit. They had the whole weekend with him. That obviously made the difference with him. So he is headed to Arkansas. All right. Let's see. What else? Hang on one second. Transfer. Touched base with Daniel Hill today. Touch base with Daniel Hill. I'm trying to talk and type at the same time. Clemson, and I'm not doing a good job of either one. He said that South Carolina is still in play with him. So that's all I got out of him. Said South Carolina. I said South Carolina's still in play. He goes, yeah, and that was that. Which kind of surprises me in that South Carolina. I'm a little surprised South Carolina is still pursuing him because they've already taken 3 commitments out of the portal, at running back. So if you got 3 running back commitments coming in and you've got a high school running back coming in, that's 4, and you got 2 running backs returning right now, that's 6. So, and Daniel Hill's supposed to be an elite high school running back. That would make 7. Let's just say you got it. That would make 7. So I was a little surprised that the interest is still there both ways. Now, maybe, I don't know, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi State is the latest entrance with him. And to say South Carolina's still in the hunt must mean they're still in contact, and there's a chance that he might sign with them tomorrow. So I'm sorry. Well, he might sign tomorrow, but he's not announcing until January 6th. So you're not going to know anything on Daniel Hill because he's waiting to hold his announcement until the All-American game that he's playing in. So that's going to remain a dark secret until he finally announces in January. But the Gamecocks are still in the hunt there. Okay.
Phil, how about this, too? A lot of fans out here of the show might remember this name, mainly because of a particular tattoo he put on his body to solidify his commitment. Corey Foreman.
Yeah.
Remember that name?
Yeah.
He had committed to Clemson, was one of the highest regarded prospects coming out of high school several years ago. I'll be honest, I don't pay that much attention to the Pac-12 on the East Coast to be real, but I haven't heard that much about it. He's entering the portal.
Again. Because he went from Oregon to Southern. Was it Oregon to Southern Cal or Southern Cal to Oregon?
Oregon to Southern Cal.
Yeah.
And so he is at Southern Cal. He is now entering the portal again.
Did he do much?
That's what I was getting. Let's see if I can find some stats on him real fast. Yep. Offhand, if he did it fairly quietly.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't recall hearing all that much about him. What do you see?
I wonder if he was injured this year. 2023, no stats really to show for it. He had 1 sack on the season. He has a total of 25 tackles in 3 years, and 1 interception, 2.5 sacks, and those all came his freshman season.
So we could conclude that he was misjudged by the recruiting analysts.
Seems that way.
Based on performance. I mean, let's go by performance. He obviously was overrated, and not worth the effort. Okay, hang on a second here. I just saw something pop up.
And he was not at Oregon unless he decommitted from them as well. I'm just seeing stats here from 2021, 22, and 23, all at Southern Cal. Either way, he's back in the portal.
Okay, he was not. You said he was at Oregon, or didn't he sign with Oregon? No.
I thought it was always Southern Cal. I just didn't want to correct you. I wasn't sure.
Okay. All right, phone number 888-898-2525. Why don't we take a couple of phone calls here? We know South Carolina's got basketball tonight. The Gamecocks take on Winthrop at the Colonial Life Arena. That game will be tipping off at about 7 o'clock. And, the Gamecock basketball team, I'm going to touch on this for a moment. They squeezed out a win the other day over Charleston Southern. And before that, the Gamecocks squeezed out a win at East Carolina. Now, their record looks good. They're 9-1. But I don't know that since the second half of the Clemson game, and they had that lead on Clemson, and then Clemson surpassed them and won the game. So since then, they have played East Carolina. They played Charleston Southern. They beat East Carolina by 6. They beat Charleston Southern by 4. Two not very good teams. And my point is, since the second half of the Clemson game, I don't know that this South Carolina team has played all that great basketball. They look very good in beating George Washington, a good GW team. They look very good in beating a not-so-good Notre Dame team. They look very good in beating a good Grand Canyon team. So I'm just wondering about this team. They've got a chance to have a nice record going into league play. They got Winthrop, Elon, and Florida A&M at home. That should be 3 wins. They should be 12-1 going into league play. But are they that good? Are they that good? I'm starting to wonder after these last 2 performances. Let's see how it goes for them tonight at home against Winthrop. And the USC women are playing tonight at Bowling Green. Former USC assistant coach is now the head coach at Bowling Green. So I'm just assuming that's why they are playing at Bowling Green as a gift from Dawn Staley to her former assistant coach. Let's see what else we have tonight. We got a pretty good amount of basketball. We got the Clemson women hosting Air Force. They got Furman hosting Presbyterian, and we have got Charleston Southern playing at Loyola Chicago, and we've got the Citadel playing at Notre Dame tonight. So good bit of basketball. More in recruiting coming up. Let's go to Tiger Bryan, Lancaster. First caller tonight. Been a little while. It's good to have you with us, Tiger Bryan. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm going to tell y'all something, yo. All this transfer, Portal John, as you call it,
yes,
as I call it. Mm-hmm. Hey, look, I take my Tigers because you know what Dabo does? He gets – look at the freshmen, true freshmen played for us this year. They balled. We get ballers. We don't got to get no daggum wash up quarterbacks or this, that, and other, or running backs or this, that, and other from other teams like South Carolina does to try to make a game. I mean, we make the kids out of men. Yeah.
No, you make the men out of kids.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. But you don't get me. I get so tired of hearing about this transfer portal.
Yeah.
The only ones transferred from Clemson because they ain't getting to play. Because you know why? These young bucks come in. Hey, true freshmen balling. I mean, it just makes me sick of this transfer portal. Yeah. I mean. And it's all about money. I love you, Corn Blue, because, hey, you called it the whole time when it started. They pay. It's a pay to play now. I mean, it's sad, but my Tigers are going to be there next year. You watch and see.
Well, I tell you, they are excited about their young players, especially on defense. They had some young guys forced to step up and play, and they played well. So, I mean, Dabo Swinney talks about the portal. But he wants nothing to do with the portal. I mean, actions are louder than words. And once again, we're going to go to signing day. And thank you, Tiger Brian. Going to go to signing day, and Clemson's not going to have anything to do with a transfer coming in. But if you like the players you got, and you develop them. Be back after the break. Take more calls.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and very chilly this evening with low temps dipping to 23. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies to go with a high temp of 51. We'll stay dry into the weekend and see temps climb to the low 60s as the week progresses. Looking ahead, it won't be a white Christmas, but it could be a wet one as showers are likely. I'm Casey Whitener with your On Point local weather.
And now the sounds of football from Mellow Mushroom Pizza Makers. Enjoy the taste of football, too, with hand-tossed pies, hoagies, wings, meatballs, hot pretzels, and over 100 beers from around the world. Mellow Mushroom, in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
This is an SRN News special report. A state Supreme Court blocking Donald Trump from being on the ballot in Colorado. I'm Keith Peters. The Colorado Supreme Court is removing former President Donald Trump from the state's primary ballot, saying he's ineligible to be president after his alleged role in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. The ruling Tuesday marks the first time in history that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment has been used to disqualify a presidential candidate. It is likely to be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. The provision forbids those who engaged in insurrection from holding office and was used mainly after the Civil War to keep former Confederates out of government. Again, the Colorado Supreme Court removing Donald Trump from the state's presidential primary ballot. This has been an SRN News special report. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
Ho, ho, ho. 'Tis the season to shop where Santa always shops. That's at Shooter's Choice, Santa's first stop. Have you been naughty or nice? Shooter's Choice has been awesome with their brand new, huge showroom to make your Christmas shopping a great experience. A massive space of firearms, ammo, and accessories to choose from. Benelli, SIG, Glock, Colt, Henry rifles, Bergara rifles, Franke, Stoger. I mean, come on. You have every major brand to choose from at Shooter's Choice. And to make it a simple job, let the pros at Shooter's Choice help you with Christmas selections. You just can't decide? Well, no problem. Gift cards are the answer. They always make shopping easy. Santa's marking down prices on new items up to Christmas Eve. And along with the daily and weekly specials, well, you will not be disappointed. Fill your Christmas wish list, save hundreds of dollars. If your sleigh can't make it to Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia, shop online at shooterschoicesc.com and have it shipped down your chimney or at least to your front door. Merry Christmas from Shooter's Choice. Your Christmas shopping spree starts with your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5-9 college savings plan, is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
Fran Halloran here. Now listen closely to what I'm about to say. I'm a business owner, and many of you listening right now, you're business owners as well. The first rule in owning a business is this: don't waste money. I see business owners waste their marketing dollars all the time. Not me. I figured out a long time ago that spending my marketing dollars at the point was not only intentional, but extremely profitable as well. If you're a small business owner, you owe it to yourself to sit down with Kevin Cohen and ask him to create a custom marketing plan for your business. He's looking for folks just like you who believe in local to partner with him in 2023 and beyond. Trust me when I tell you, partnering with The Point works. You will see results and your marketing budget will no longer be wasted. Give Kev a call at 803-563-8558 and tell him the Money Coach sent you.
Have you ever walked in and looked at how beautiful a Lexington Discount Homes manufactured home really is? For more than 35 years, Lexington Discount Homes has helped families find home ownership with phenomenal customer service and a selection that fits your needs and your wallet. They have a huge variety of homes and prices. Come by and visit us at 1847 Augusta Highway or take a virtual tour online at lexingtondiscounthomes.com. That's lexingtondiscounthomes.com.
Back we are, Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornblut, Pat Daniel with you here on this Tuesday night, the eve, National Signing Day of 2023 for December. We'll be up with the chickens in the morning. Don't really like doing that, but we'll do it. What time you normally get up, Pat? 10 o'clock, 10:30?
6:15, 6:30.
Really? I'll be up with you tomorrow.
I work 7:30 to 9:15 every single day.
Hard-working young man. It's good for you.
That's right.
Hard work is good for you. Don't ever apologize for working hard. So we'll be up early with Pat and the chickens and everybody else watching as, well, things have changed so much. Basically, we just repeat what the schools put out as they get their signed national letters of intent, NLI. So typical of colleges. You got NIL, name, image, likeness. Of course, before that, you had NIL. No, you had NLI, National Letter of Intent. You would think they'd come up with something not so close so it wouldn't be so confusing, because people get confused between the two. You have to stop and think about it. But as those come in, the schools will tweet it out. They do their own business, and then we'll just retweet what they put out and watch as some players making decisions, put those out, have their announcements, whatever. Typically, now Clemson gets theirs done pretty quick, starting at 7 o'clock, usually by about 10:30, 11. They're wrapped up. They've got all their NLIs in-house. And Dabo Sweeney and the Clemson radio network people, they do an online show that commences about 9 o'clock, where they interview all the coaches, and they like to be able to talk about the players they have signed by position with those position coaches. So they try to get their stuff done and in-house as quickly as possible. In South Carolina, of course, they want their guys signed as quickly as possible, too. Of course, there could be a couple of lingering things. Now, as far as the transfers are concerned, they don't sign anything. You see, people think they're going to be signing tomorrow. Transfers don't sign. Transfers just show up.
That seems crazy to me. They don't sign anything.
I don't believe so. What are they going to sign? You only sign one NLI in your career. After that, you sign scholarship papers, which binds the school to you, but not you to the school. What that says is, you come here, we're going to give you a scholarship. That doesn't mean you got to go. You can still go somewhere else.
Wow. So the school has to honor it, but the student athlete does not.
Correct.
Interesting.
That's my understanding. That's always been my understanding until I'm told otherwise. And again, I don't think the schools release anything on transfers because they're not in school. They've got to get enrolled, and then they have to show up on campus. I'm just trying to think about last year with South Carolina and the transfer guys. I don't think they put them on their list until the February signing date, because by then, they were in school. They were on scholarship. They were accounted for. South Carolina has not produced, I checked today on their website, they have not produced a 2024 roster yet. So all they've got up is their 2023 roster. They don't have their 2024 roster there. So again, there are some things to wait on as we look ahead to signing day tomorrow. Also want to mention this. Greg Biggins, 24/7 out on the West Coast, talked to Malachi Nelson's dad today, and he said they were inundated with phone calls. About 50 schools have contacted them. Wow. Yeah. So you knew that was going to be the case. I mean, he's a tremendous talent, and they're going to take their time, kind of course, weed out schools, And then when the live period opens back up in January, they would like to take at least 3 official visits and then pick a school. So at all those schools, they're going to go to 3 for official visits. Now, why would South Carolina have a chance? Couple things here. Number one, Nelson originally committed to Oklahoma when Lincoln Riley was at Oklahoma. And I believe, I'd have to look at the years, if he committed to Riley at Oklahoma in like maybe 22 or 21, I mean, Beamer was there. At least I bet you when Beamer was there and they were recruiting him, maybe when he was younger, there might have been a bit of a connection. But the other thing here, too, is you wonder, you think maybe Lincoln Riley has put in a good word for Shane Beamer with his former quarterback. If he said, okay, you're leaving here, well, go take a look at South Carolina with Shane Beamer. I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe he has, maybe he hadn't. But there's a connection there with Riley and Beamer, of course. Maybe that would work in South Carolina's favor in this case. So the bottom line here is they're going to take a look at things and decide on 3 schools and then take official visits. Now, also, you're South Carolina, you have to think about this. You've got Lenore Self. Now, this is different than, say, it appears KJ Jefferson in South Carolina, nothing's going to materialize there. The Arkansas transfer looks like he's looking elsewhere. He's a one-and-done guy. And I don't think that situation kind of damages your roster with the younger guys in the room as much as having a younger guy coming in. So now you're South Carolina. You've got Lenore Sellers. You've got Dante Reno, who's going to sign tomorrow. And you've also got a 2026 quarterback committed, but you're also heavily involved with one of the top quarterbacks in 2025 in Ryan Montgomery. And, I mean, you're down, you're one of the few with him. It's you and it's Auburn and it's Florida right now. And so if you bring in let's just say South Carolina got very fortunate and landed Malachi Nelson. I mean, this is Spencer Rattler all over again, I think, in terms of the reputation and the talent, right? I think it's like Spencer Rattler chapter 2. So you do wonder. You do have to think about how's this going to impact the other quarterbacks in the room. Yes, it's open to competition. Sure, Spencer Rattler was open to competition. Really? Was there ever going to be anybody else starting at quarterback at South Carolina when Spencer Rattler stepped on campus?
That was all lip service.
Yeah. So, I got to believe that, competition is, we're going to have competition, but we know how the competition is going to end. What you got?
Just to follow up on what you were talking about a minute ago regarding that timeline. So it looks like Malachi Nelson first committed to Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma in July of 2021. And then Lincoln Riley was hired. Remember, Shane Beamer was already at South Carolina at that point.
Okay.
And Lincoln Riley was then hired by Southern Cal in November or December. I guess that would have been December of no, actually it was on November 28th. So either way, to your point, though, you got to think they as in Oklahoma did not just start recruiting him in 2021. They had to have been recruiting him long before that. And so you certainly would think that Shane Beamer would have been involved at some stage, or there would have been some kind of connection there. And something else that's interesting about this, with that connection, it's just a year ago now that starting running back for the Gamecocks, Marshawn Lloyd, committed to Southern Cal and Lincoln Riley in the transfer portal. So it would almost be poetic justice for a Southern Cal player to now commit to South Carolina.
You would think that would be what goes around comes around,
Is that a fair trade, you think? What do you think? If we were doing this in trade terms, the Gamecocks trade a starting running back to now you're getting back a future prospect in starting quarterback. So one's proven, one's not.
I would say if we're talking trades, if that's just a one-on-one trade based on the importance of the position and who can do what for you, I would say South Carolina gets the better end of that deal. If Malachi Nelson, if he ends up in South Carolina, if this is all nothing more than just, us flapping our lips here. Sure. If he actually does show up in South Carolina, you're setting yourself up for a couple years at least of high level quarterback play at least. So, I mean, based on the kid's high school reputation, that's what we're going on, the high school reputation. if he is as good as they say he was in high school, and his numbers, 70 some odd touchdowns to 17 interceptions and over 5,000 yards. It's pretty impressive. Back to the phones, 888-898-2525. David in Orangeburg, welcome in, sir. Good to have you with us. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Hope y'all are also.
Yes, sir.
With the bowl season upon us and the opt-outs are starting, and from what I hear, the biggest reason for opt-out is to avoid injury and save yourself for NFL. With that premise in mind, I was just curious, your opinion, how much havoc is opt-out going to cause when they start the playoffs? Because in the playoffs, going through the playoffs, you're going to be, the chances of being injured are going to be ramped up significantly. I was wanting y'all's opinion. I enjoyed the show. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know of too many frontline players, starters, who have opted out from the playoff teams. Obviously, Texas lost a backup quarterback who hadn't played very much. But I can't think of too many other opt-outs from the playoff teams to this point. Alabama's had a couple of backup defensive linemen to opt out. Again, these aren't frontline players. Reserve defensive linemen to opt out. Alabama has. Hadn't heard of any from Washington. So yeah, I can't think of any. Have you any of significance at this point?
I have not, and I'm trying to even think from years past. It seems almost like those playoff games are kind of separate. Like, that's not something you want to miss.
Right.
Even this year, having Malik Murphy at, I believe that's his name, at Texas, the backup quarterback, entering the portal. But there have been reports that have come out that Texas actually allowed him the opportunity if he still wanted to participate because he, quote unquote, did everything the right way regarding the portal. But I guess he chose not to. And I really can't think of many from years past. I found a good resource here. If you'll give me a moment, I might be able to find us an answer here. But nothing really. Oh, here we go. Here's one for Washington. Dylan Morris. He's a quarterback, but obviously not the starter. That's Michael Penix Jr. So I'm not sure where he is on that depth chart. But here for that, okay, so that's in the Sugar Bowl. Now for the Rose Bowl. Wow, okay. Shame on me. Alabama has 3. Isaiah Hastings, who's a defensive lineman.
Backup.
Tyler Buckner, backup quarterback. Wow, and he just transferred there to follow his offensive coordinator from Notre Dame. He's back in the portal. And then, I'm going to mispronounce this, apologies, Anquin Barnes, defensive lineman.
Backup.
There you go.
And he just committed somewhere else. He visited, I think South Carolina had some interest in him. I think he visited. I have to look at my notes, but I think he visited South Carolina, but he ended up going somewhere else. All right, thank you for your phone call. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. After the top of the hour break, we'll give you the complete recruiting recap from today and look ahead to things tomorrow. Also, coming up after the break, we're going to hear from Clemson running back Will Shipley. Of course, he has to make a decision. Speaking of decisions, he hasn't made a decision. Will he stay or will he go? For Will, that is the question there. You know, everybody likes the next guy, and Phil Maffa stepped up, did a really nice job. But Will Shipley is a talented player who helps your team in 3 different ways: running the ball, catching the ball, and returning kickoffs. So you might want to keep him if you can.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett, and that's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's Corbett. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
The lottery is not about getting rich. It's about helping people, and it always has been. The lottery is what helped raise the Great Wall of China, build the roads of Rome, and today in South Carolina, it's what generates millions of dollars each year for scholarships like the SC Hope, Life, and Palmetto Fellows. The South Carolina Education Lottery is investing in you. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou to learn more.
We're with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, let's say I'm out in the woods or I'm on the water and I need to reach a DNR agent. How do I do that?
Operation Game Thief, Phil. It's been around 30 plus years. You can call us at our 24-hour hotline any time of day, 1-800-922-5431. To report wildlife violations or to get help if you're in trouble in the woods or on the water, call us at Operation Game Thief, 1-800-922-5431.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
All right, Clemson football team still at practice, as in they're practicing this time of the week. I think, in fact, today might have been their last day of practice. Maybe they're taking a break. I remember from what Sweeney said, they're off, and then they are going to reconvene in Jacksonville on Christmas Eve, which is Sunday, and then I think they practice around Christmas, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or maybe it's Monday, Tuesday, and then the next media session would be Wednesday. So Will Shipley met with the media earlier in the bowl practice sessions, and this was last week. And of course, foremost on everybody's mind with him, what are your future plans? Are you coming back to Clemson for another year? Are you going to transfer to another school? Or are you just going to go and turn pro? So that's a good bit of what they talked about. Here's Will Shipley.
Yeah, for my family and I, it's something that, I think we wish we could have an answer by now, but, it just hasn't come to me. And, I knew that I wanted to play in the bowl game. There was no doubt, I wanted to get out there with my boys at least one more time and just go out there, finish the season on the right note with 5 wins, in a row. And, but ultimately just, haven't come to a decision yet. My family and I, and me personally, just nothing's too clear for me right now. So. You heard that, during that blue game, what was that like? Yeah, it was horrible, to be honest with you. Yeah, I went to bed Sunday not feeling too great. Was hoping it was just going to be something quick, but woke up Monday morning feeling pretty bad. Went in, tested positive for the flu. Wasn't sure kind of how the week was going to progress, but tried to get out there on Thursday. Just couldn't get through practice because just wasn't feeling well still. But ultimately decided we were going to still make the trip to Columbia. do what we could to get me ready for the game Saturday, and was just able to make it happen. Huge shout out to the training staff and everybody that kind of helped me get there. But yeah, was just able to go out there, win the state championship, which is all we wanted to do. So it was a great time.
What percentage do you put on where you were in that game?
Yeah, it's just so tough. I mean, because you talk about the physical and mental side of the game. Mentally, I was fully there. Was able to get caught up with Phil, especially being my roommate, helping me out. Coach Spiller doing a great job with me. Coach Riley. Physically, I'd say I really hadn't run all week, so I couldn't put a number on it. I'd say anywhere from probably 50 to 75% going out there. I mean, just hadn't gotten any physical preparation during the week, so wasn't too sure what I was going to get when I went out there. But another huge shout out to Coach Spiller. Shows how great of a job he does managing his room and all the reps with everything going on. So huge shout out to him.
Phil played a game physically, though. Would you say would that be the worst?
Yeah, no doubt. The 100%. I try to think back to another game I've had like that, but that was definitely the most sick that I've been leading up to a game and also during a game. Just would go 2 or 3 plays and just felt the urge to throw up, get off the field. I mean, it was a tough weekend, and then kind of set me back a little bit. So had to get back, early the next week, the week after the South Carolina game. But hey, we got the job done, so I was happy.
Who's that mentally during the game? You feel like you got to puke every other play.
Yeah, it's tough, but you look out there and you see Phil struggling too from having to go 9, 10, 11 play drives straight. So Coach Sweeney actually showed us a video this week that summed it up tremendously. And it's just like, ultimately, what would you do? Or the greatest teams, the greatest competitors are going to dig deep and find a way to fight for their brother beside them. So, I'd say Phil, firsthand, and then, just all my other teammates going out there, knowing what they sacrificed for me, especially just not being able to go out there Monday through Thursday practice-wise. I just miss being out there with the guys. So, just ultimately wanted to get out there and play with them and help them out as much as I could.
So I got to get out 100% the last game. Have this whole game, which you don't know what you did last game or not. I mean, how eager are you against the play?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great just getting out there to even practice with the guys. First kind of full week back with it even being finals week, but we'll kind of disconnect at the early part of next week and get a little time with the families at home or wherever the players choose to be, and then we get to the bowl site. We got a Tanoga Christmas. I mean, freaking incredible, right? We're just me personally, I'm just so excited to get out there. Like you said, don't know if it's going to be my last opportunity or not. So we're just going to make the absolute most of it, soak it all in and go out there and just try to make the biggest impact that I can.
Will, Larry Williams, Tiger Illustrated. Apologies if you've already addressed this, but the decision, is it strictly coming back to Clemson or NFL, or is it also transfer possibility? Just curious.
Yeah, that's a great question, and with where I am at this point in the process, it's either to move on to the next level, being the NFL, or staying back and continuing to be a Clemson Tiger. Transferring is just not something that my family and I, think we represent as a family. Not saying that it's not a great option for some people, but for me in my position, where I'm at, it's either on to the big leagues or staying back at Clemson University and being a Tiger for one more year.
All right, Will Shipley, and look for him to have a good game against Kentucky. I think they'll have a chance to get the ball in his hands in a variety of ways, and he can produce yards against a Kentucky defense that was pretty good against the run this past season. But I think Shipley, and I look for Clemson to win that game. We'll talk more about that coming up. But real quick, we got an off-the-air call that Pat took from an informant. But he gave us a couple of pieces to think about, pieces of information to think about.
And this is a fairly well-informed caller who had a long conversation with us last night. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Start this music. Hard to multitask here.
Yep.
So he said specifically look at the rosters of Alabama and Michigan, and he believes there's a backup quarterback between those two rosters with serious interest to come to South Carolina and the Gamecocks. Looking through those rosters, the ones that make sense, Alabama, Dylan Lonergan, there was a previous relationship there.
Mm-hmm.
And then backup Michigan quarterback Jaden Denegal, who was very heavily recruited to Arkansas while Loggins was there. So there's also a connection there. Just something to watch out for.
Keep an eye on it. We'll be back.
What's supposed to happen here? Thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The Colorado Supreme Court is removing former President Donald Trump from the state's primary ballot, saying he is ineligible to be president after his alleged role in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. The ruling Tuesday marks the first time in history that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment has been used to disqualify a presidential candidate. It is likely to be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. The provision forbids those who engaged in insurrection from holding office and was used mainly after the Civil War to keep former Confederates out of government. The U.S. and a host of other nations are creating a new force to protect ships transiting the Red Sea that have come under attack by drones and ballistic missiles fired from Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby says the new force being put together by the U.S. and other nations to protect ships will give the Red Sea a different look.
There's going to be a whole lot of hardware in the Red Sea now, naval hardware, not just from the United States, but other ships from other nations to counter these threats. So let's see where it goes. I mean, it's up and running now. We hope it gets stronger and we're able to add additional countries and additional capabilities to it.
The seriousness of the attacks, several of which have damaged vessels, has led multiple shipping companies to order their ships to hold in place and not enter the Bab el-Mandeb Strait until the security situation can be addressed. Utility crews are working to restore power to hundreds of thousands of customers in Maine, and some rivers continued to rise following a powerful storm that hit the northeastern U.S. At least 5 people were killed. On Wall Street, the Dow by 251 points, the Nasdaq rose 98, the S&P 500 advanced 27. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-355-4107 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-355-4107. That's 800-355-4107. What do you have to lose? Call 800-355-4107. Again, 800-355-4107.
California is about to become the second state to recycle toilet water into drinking water. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
California regulators plan to vote today on new rules to let water agencies recycle wastewater and put it right back into pipes. Lakeisha Bryant of the Santa Clara Valley Water District says the water will go through what she calls a very expensive advanced water treatment process.
Microfiltration, reverse osmosis, and ultraviolet light disinfection, and the water is pure water at the end.
The state has struggled for decades to have a reliable source of drinking water for its more than 39 million residents. Right now, Colorado is the only state to recycle wastewater. I'm Donna Warder.
California has been using recycled wastewater for decades. It's been used to make snow for ski resorts and to water crops. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and very chilly this evening, with low temps dipping to 23. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies to go with a high temp of 51. We'll stay dry into the weekend and see temps climb to the low 60s as the week progresses. Looking ahead, it won't be a white Christmas, but it could be a wet one as showers are likely. I'm Casey Whitener with your On Point local weather.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Me? Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Welcome back in, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornblut, Pat Daniel from our Columbia studios. We got time for more calls tonight. Phone number 888-898-2525. And a reminder, we've got shows all this week. Nothing from a holiday standpoint. No show on Christmas Day, Monday, coming. So there's that. And no show on New Year's Day, the following Monday, since we don't have a team playing. Typically, we've had a team playing on New Year's Day. Don't have a team playing on New Year's Day. But our coverage of Clemson in Jacksonville will begin 1 week from today. We'll be in Jacksonville. We'll start reporting on the Tigers and follow them the rest of the week until they play at noon the next Friday in Jacksonville. South Carolina Winthrop underway. Slow start for both teams shooting the basketball. As they like to say in basketball, and I don't know why they say this, score the ball. I mean, okay. Well, of course you want to score with the basketball. I hate when they say that. You know, he's really good at scoring the ball. Now, what the hell does that mean? The Gamecocks and the Eagles, neither one is very good at scoring the ball right now. The Gamecocks are 1 for 5, and the Eagles are 1 for 4. Make the Gamecocks 1 for 6. So they are off to a sluggish shooting start. Now they've taken a 4-2 lead. South Carolina has. They've taken a 4-2 lead. They're coming up on the under-16 timeout in that one. So we'll stay on top of that for you as we move through the rest of the show. And we're going to hear as well, we heard from Will Shipley. Of course, we're going to load up with Clemson interviews from their practice sessions since last week. That's the only football we've got going on now. No more Furman. I shouldn't say that. Don't go on. I keep forgetting about Coastal. We will, of course, be paying attention to Coastal out in Hawaii. But I was going to say no more Furman, no more Shrine Bowl. But there is Coastal. They're so far removed, out of sight, out of mind. We will, of course, be watching what's happening out in Hawaii with Coastal, as well as what's going on with Clemson. In a little bit, we're going to hear from the new offensive line coach at Clemson, who also met with the media and gave some insight about his plans with the Tigers, Matt Luke, coming over from Ole Miss and what he thinks he can do with the Clemson offensive line, which they got a bunch of guys coming back. They do lose the starting center. They did lose one to the transfer portal, John. They've got a good number of offensive linemen returning, and in their recruiting class, they've got a couple committed, and they're hoping to add more with the kid who's been committed to Duke, who they had in for a visit the other day. And I guess that kid's going to go to tomorrow before he announces anything about what he's going to do. Clemson is sitting on 20 commitments at this point. So let's go ahead and do our recruiting report and give you a thorough review of where things stand and what else is coming up from a recruiting standpoint. Shall we do that? Let's do that. Go for it. Recruiting report here on Sports Talk, of course, is brought to you by Seawells. And we encourage you to get to Seawells for the daily luncheon buffet. But they're going to be closed starting when?
So they will be closed starting, looks like Friday, December 22nd, and they will be closed through January 2nd. So you will not be able to get your Seawells fix from Friday, this coming Friday, the 22nd of December, until Wednesday, January 3rd. So highly recommend getting in there while you can. Tomorrow will be carved applewood smoked ham, southern fried chicken, and fried fish nuggets, which are outstanding. Thursday, celebrating roast beef Friday on a Thursday this week. So carved roasted sirloin of beef, southern fried chicken, and then baby back ribs. Fantastic.
All sounds good. All sounds good. And for the very best in the catering business, just give the folks at Seawells a call. Let them do it all. That phone number is 803-771-7385, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. Should mention, of course, USC women are playing. They're playing at Bowling Green, and they are off to a 15-7 lead, and they are not even 3 minutes in to the opening quarter. They're up 15-7 against the Falcons of Bowling Green. All right, so before we talk about what's happening, let's just remind ourselves what's happened to this point with the recruiting classes. So Clemson, cornerbacks Tavoy Fagan, Ashton Hampton, Corian Gibson. Defensive ends, Darian Mayo, Adam Kasai. Now, some of these guys committed so long ago, you've forgotten about them. Defensive tackles, Champ Thompson and Heaven Brown Schuler. Schuler and Thompson, they should give Clemson a combo inside that should be dynamic for years to come. Schuler, just looking at him on film and pictures, he looks like another, name one of the big Clemson. He looks like another Davis in there, another plugger. He's 6'4", 290. Linebackers, Drew Woodaz, Sammy Brown, C.J. Kuba Taylor. The offensive line, offensive guard, Ronan O'Connell. Offensive tackle, Watson Young. So, little thin on the OL. Again, they got a bunch coming back that they certainly wanted more. And if they get this kid who's been committed to Duke, that'll help. Place kicker, Nolan Hauser. Running back, David Eziomumi. Safeties, Noah Dixon, Ricardo Jones, Joe Wilkinson. Tight end, Christian Bentonker. And receivers, they're very excited about these two, T.J. Moore and Bryant Wesco. These two are supposed to be a cut above with high school receivers. So fixing the receiver situation at Clemson, these two are supposed to be two that can do that. Moore averaged 25 yards a catch this season. 25 yards a catch. And Wesco was like highly regarded coming out of Texas.
Are they both enrolling this spring? Do we know that yet?
Usually, Clemson's high school kids enroll early.
Where I'm going with that is, do you think that this may push some of the already at Clemson receivers? I know Bo Collins already entered the portal. I don't believe any other receivers have. Do we think that if these two guys come in and show out well this spring, we might see more defections from the Clemson wide receiver room?
I mean, I would hope not. I would hope that, like, who? Antonio Williams? I would hope that he would stick.
I wouldn't think he would.
Certainly, Tyler Brown. Yeah, I mean, I would think those guys would stick it out. I mean, it's competition, but they got to have some depth in there. Got to improve the depth. All right, now for South Carolina, we've got 26 newcomers for the Gamecocks. Braden Lee, cornerback. Now, you got to keep an eye on him because Maryland's made a strong push, and he's put out a couple of tweets about his signing tomorrow. He didn't say signing with South Carolina, just that I'm signing. Typically you put on there who you're signing with, blah, 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 go this, go that. He hadn't done that. So this will be one worth watching tomorrow. Braden Lee. Jalewis Solomon, another corner. He seems to be pretty solid. At one point, it looked like maybe Florida State might get in there. Defensive ends. Got to like these two. Dylan Stewart, number one, according to the analysts, number one high school defensive end in the country. And Kyle Kennard, transfer from Georgia Tech. And I wonder, how much would South Carolina's defense be helped if they could convince Nick Harbor to play defensive end? Think about that. I don't know if they can do it. Would that be breaking a recruiting promise? He wants to stay in a receiver's body because of his track instead of putting on all that weight and muscle to be a defensive end. So just think about that. How much would he help South Carolina? Would he help South Carolina more at defensive end than potentially at wide receiver? Defensive tackles, Jerome Simmons, DeAndre Jules. Linebackers, William Gregory, highly thought of, and Fred Johnson. Offensive linemen, all three highly coveted, Blake Franks, Cam Pringle, Josiah Thompson. Punter, place kicker, Mason Love. This guy kicked a 57-yard field goal in high school. Got to love that.
That's really good.
Quarterback Dante Reno. Seems like he's been committed to them for like 5 years. Running backs, Matthew Fuller, Oscar Attaway, Rocket Sanders, Jawarn Howell. Got to like that foursome. Safeties, Kelvin Hunter, David Busey, Gerald Kilgore. Tight ends, Michael Smith, highly thought of. Brady Hunt, highly thought of transfer. And then receivers, Mazeo Bennett, highly thought of. Jared Brown, transfer. And Jaden McGowan, who committed publicly. You know our story about him last night. Got no response from him. Reached out to him 2 or 3 times, trying to nail it down. And that always makes me wonder. You know, if you're set with South Carolina, you could just come back and say, yeah, we're all good. Sign him with South Carolina. Well, not sign him, but set with South Carolina. Transfers don't sign. So I wonder, and I don't know when this, is he going to go public with something to say, I'm doing this? So this is one that bears watching. Also, I didn't mention Zymarian Lang, listed as a wide receiver from Sarasota, Florida. So South Carolina insiders have been reporting last few days that South Carolina is not going to sign him. So I reached out to him, did not get a response. Again, maybe that's another sign. The story that I've read about it is he wants to be a receiver in college. They want him to be a defensive back. They took him as a receiver / defensive back. And I guess they must have told him, yeah, you can start out at receiver, give you a shot both ways, but maybe you got to look at numbers now. You got to think about the 85, and maybe they kind of felt like he wasn't going to cut it at receiver. He doesn't want to play defensive back, so they maybe just decided to go their separate ways. Where he's going, what he's going to do, I don't know, because he hasn't responded to inquiries. So, but that's coming from insider reporters saying that South Carolina is not going to be signing him. So we'll see what happens there. Okay. All right. On to other stuff. Now, I'll tell you what, let's hit the break and we'll come back with the rest of the stuff. I wanted to get that stuff done first. We'll come back and get into more stuff from today as we continue our pre-signing day coverage here on Sports Talk. Let's update the basketball as well. South Carolina 11-7 over Winthrop at the under 12. Gamecocks have warmed to 31%. Winthrop only 2 of 9. That's 22%. Michi Johnson leads the Gamecocks with 4. And the women, South Carolina women, playing at Bowling Green. And in that game, the USC women have a pretty substantial lead already. That score is, if I can find it here, you keep playing the bumper over and over again, and I can't put my eyes on the score.
Here you go. Here's a few more seconds.
Give me a few more seconds here, unless maybe I close the window. We'll find out and report back in a moment.
Avoiding excess financial stress from the holidays doesn't take a Christmas miracle. All it takes is a Christmas loan from Founders Federal Credit Union. Our Christmas loan is designed to ease your Yuletide expenses so you can focus on what matters most, spreading joy and love. With our great rates, flexible repayment options, and outstanding service, you'll be ready for whatever the holidays might throw your way. So instead of putting that unexpected sleigh repair on next year's wish list, visit foundersfcu.com/Christmas loan to unwrap your own magic this Christmas. Relax with Founders Federal Credit Union. Terms and conditions apply. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required.
George Bryan here for Tsunami Bar Sports, and some say the fun is in the winning. I say the fun is in the training. And Tsunami Robbie, what do you say?
George, we all know you get more done when you're having fun. This technology is different. It's engaging, but it's also a lot of fun to use.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any Tsunami Bar order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait. Order today.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through co-op connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hosteller-Brown. Do you know the difference between a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust? The difference could easily save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in long-term care costs. Visit lawyerlisa.com to schedule a consultation today.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Daddy, you need a trust.
You put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
You found the women's score?
I did. The Gamecocks currently lead the Falcons 28-18 with about a minute and a half left in the first quarter. Looks like Bree Hall is leading the way right now with 9 points, with Chloe Kitts right behind her with 7 points. And let's see here, some team stats for you. The Gamecocks, oh my gosh, the Gamecocks are shooting an absurd 77% from the field, 71% from three, and 100% from the line. So it's a pretty daggum good start offensively for the Gamecocks.
By the way, we'll get back to recruiting in a second. The high school league today published the realignment for 2024 through 2026, and we'll touch on some of that here in just a moment. And of course, this would I'm assuming, I got to read more. I'm assuming this takes in the new multiplier that they are assessing schools who take students, not just athletes, who take students outside of their district. I saw this late in the afternoon when it came out, so I haven't had a chance to really digest it. I just have 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A. I've got the schools. The high school league put this out. I've got the schools that are in each of the class and their enrollment. For example, the largest 5A school in the latest enrollment figures is Dorman with 3,106. The smallest 5A school would be the 54th school, Catawba Ridge, with 1,319. So that's roughly a 2,000 student difference, about an 1,800 student difference between the largest and the smallest in 5A. 1,800, that's an entire school. That's another school at another level. To have that kind of difference between the big and the small. And what you don't want to be is the smallest. You don't want to be the smallest school in a class, because you just missed the cutoff for moving down to the next level where you could be more competitive. For example, Catawba Ridge is at 1,319 students, which makes them the last team in 5A, barring appeal. There'll be appeals. The largest school in 4A is North Augusta with 1,411 students. So I guess because I don't know why 1362. And you've got Myrtle Beach with 1362 is also in 5A, but those figures are less than some of the schools in 4A. So I don't understand why why they are in 5A unless they had to do it for balance or something. I don't know all the details. Anyway, let me get back into recruiting. We'll go over this coming up at the bottom of the hour. Got more to tell you about in recruiting. By the way, South Carolina Winthrop, I can give you that score, 15-10. Gamecocks at the 8:47 mark. Winthrop won for their last 8. So where we left off, recruiting-wise, again, Clemson got commitments today from safety Joe Wilkinson, talked about him, and linebacker C.J. Kuba Taylor. So on to other ins and outs of the day. Recruiting-wise, we talked about the Malachi Nelson situation and what could happen here with him, possibly South Carolina. We had the quotes from his dad earlier. Pete Nakos of On 3 said the Nelson camp had heard from Tulane, TCU, South Carolina, Houston, and Cal. Nelson's a native of Los Alamitos, California. In his 3-year high school career, he passed for 5,086 yards, 70 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. Of course, this is happening because A.J. Swan pulled a U-turn and announced for LSU yesterday and not for South Carolina. Now, South Carolina had Texas transfer Malik Murphy in on Saturday in between stops at Duke and Oregon State. He was the backup to Quinn Ewers this season, started 2 games. So haven't heard anything more there. Former Arkansas quarterback K.J. Jefferson in the portal. It would seem like it would make sense with South Carolina because of his connections and the fact you had Trey Knox from Arkansas at South Carolina before, a previous teammate, and you got Rocket Sanders, a more recent teammate, going to South Carolina. But apparently the Gamecocks are not in the mix. Brad Crawford of 24/7 Sports reported that the Gamecocks won't be involved. Miami, UCF, and TCU are more likely possibilities. USC's QB coach, Dowell Loggins, may also have some interest in recent portal entrant Robbie Ashford of Auburn. And as we mentioned earlier tonight, might want to keep an eye on Dylan Lonergan, should he enter the portal at Alabama, and the backup quarterback at Michigan. What's his name again? Do you remember? It was
I closed it out now. Last name was Denegal.
Yeah, that's good enough. Denegal, backup quarterback at Michigan, because of the connections he might have had with them when they were at Arkansas.
Jaden Denegal.
With Loggins recruiting him. We talked about Jaden McGowan, that situation. As far as we know, still committed to South Carolina, but as we reported last night, Boston College, a factor as well, and won't know anything until he says something else. And mentioned that, according to the Big Spur, receiver, defensive back Zymarian Lang, Sarasota, Florida, is not going to sign with South Carolina. USC commitment Braden Lee, got to watch him tomorrow as he announces. TCU quarterback Chandler Morris, the son of the former Clemson OC and QB coach and current analyst Chad Morris, he's in the transfer portal, John. But I can't see Clemson doing anything with him. It'd make no sense for Chandler Morris to go to Clemson because Klubnik is the guy. And Dabo Swinney is not going to sway away from Klubnik. Cade Klubnik's his man. So from a Clemson standpoint, we're still watching Edric Houston, the high school kid who's been committed to Ohio State, but Alabama might be where he would flip, if not to Clemson, or he might stick with Ohio State, waiting on Mason Wade, been committed to Duke. and Clemson or Duke for him. And, of course, the Tigers will get and sign Elijah Thurman tomorrow. He'll be going there, offensive lineman out of Hinesville, Georgia. So that'll be another offensive lineman for the Tigers. For the Gamecocks, watching Daniel Hill, running back out of Mississippi still, and watching to see what happens with Braden Lee and DeBron Gatling, wide receiver, Alpharetta, Georgia. Some of the national reporters are pegging South Carolina for him. So keep an eye on that tomorrow. Be right back.
The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and very chilly this evening with low temps dipping to 23. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies to go with a high temp of 51. We'll stay dry into the weekend and see temps climb to the low 60s as the week progresses. Looking ahead, it won't be a white Christmas, but it could be a wet one as showers are likely. I'm Casey Whitener with your On Point local weather.
Hey y'all, my name's Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. With the holidays approaching, people are looking for places to hold large parties. Flight Deck Restaurant has what you need. We have 4 different rooms that can accommodate groups from 12 all the way to 120 people. As long as you eat dinner with us, Flight Deck does not charge a rental fee for the room. Flight Deck Restaurant can accommodate wedding receptions, rehearsal dinners, Christmas parties, birthday parties, anniversary parties, civic organizations that need to have a regular place to meet. Flight Deck Restaurant is a full-service restaurant and we can provide audio-visual equipment. Please consider Flight Deck Restaurant in Lexington. Thanks y'all and God bless.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. A divided Colorado Supreme Court on Tuesday declared former President Donald Trump ineligible for the White House under the U.S. Constitution's insurrection clause and removed him from the state's presidential primary ballot, setting up a likely showdown in the nation's highest court to decide whether the frontrunner for the GOP nomination can remain in the race. The decision from the court, whose justices were all appointed by Democratic governors, marks the first time in history that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment has been used to disqualify a presidential candidate. The court wrote in its 4-3 decision, quote, "A majority of the court holds that Trump is disqualified from holding the office of president under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment." The court stayed its decision until January 4th. This is SRN News.
You don't normally call a plumber until you need a plumber. Well, if you need one today or if you need one tomorrow, I want you to remember Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. Listen, I might not know all the tricks to turning a wrench, but I do know how a plumbing company should work and how to treat people. My dad was a plumber. My grandfather was a plumber, and so were 3 of my uncles. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning does it right. They are the epitome of customer service. They're locally owned and operated, and Josh and his team, well, they put customer service as the top priority for Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. I've never known a business owner more intent on making it a great experience for people. And let's face it, when you have a plumbing crisis, well, that could be traumatic. They specialize in service and replacement issues for your home or for your business. They've been to my home and fixed 3 different plumbing issues I had in the house. If you need them, they're there to help. Online at franklinplumbing.sc.com or call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning 799-2222. That's 799-2222. And tell them Kev sent you from The Point.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hi, this is Chris Neely, Superintendent of the South Carolina Public Charter School District. I hope you'll join Kev and me each Tuesday afternoon. We'll bring you Kids First, where we talk about educational issues and what we're doing to teach kids the right way. It's Kids First, Tuesday at 5:30, right here on 100.7 The Point.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Hey, honey, do you remember if Dad took his meds this morning?
I'm not sure.
He isn't either. Keeping up with his meds is overwhelming.
True Pharmacy packages medication. They showed me a sample, and it even separates them by date and time of day.
Something like that would be really helpful for Dad and for me.
Even better, it's free, just for being their customer. True Pharmacy, 1628 Charleston Highway and 3217 Devine Street, or TrueRxSC.com.
Hi, this is Joel Lurie. I'm the host of Health Matters every Monday morning from 9 to 10 right here on 100.7 The Point. Join me as we talk about issues impacting your health and our community. It's Health Matters every Monday at 9 a.m. right here on The Point.
While you were gone, I think we updated some of our bumper music there. I think Josh got his hands on the bumper library.
Way to go,
and
Josh.
Updated some things. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, update basketball, then back to the rest of recruiting. So South Carolina Winthrop, it's 27-19 Gamecocks, 4:24 to go in the opening half, 39% to 32% shooting. And anything else significant? Rebounds, pretty even. Gamecocks being led by Michi Johnson. 0 for 3 from 3. Got 8 points. The Gamecocks are only 3 of 11. They were against Charleston Southern in the second half, where the Gamecocks 1 for 25. They had some abysmal outside shooting number against Charleston Southern. Now they've opened up an 8-point lead. It's 27-19. Gamecocks starting to stretch this out a little bit. You got the women's score?
I do. They have also stretched out that lead. And although the Gamecocks have been shooting lights out tonight, they had a 10-point lead after the first quarter. But let's take that a step further. They allowed 18 points in the first quarter to Bowling Green, who only averages 60-something points a game. So you got to think Coach Staley was not happy with that. Well, whatever she said worked, because now in the second quarter, they have outscored the Falcons 18-4, now to take a commanding 46-22 lead with just over 4 minutes left in the first half. And the Gamecocks are still just shooting at a ridiculous clip. Overall, 72%, and then 70% from three and 100% from the line.
All right, very good. So let me update some other basketball real quick. How about this? Up in South Bend, the Citadel 55, Notre Dame 39. Citadel 55, Notre Dame 39. This would be, without question, considering how things have gone for the Citadel of late, and this will make them 7-5 in basketball. This they don't collapse here. Be the biggest win for them in any sport since they beat the Gamecocks in football a few years ago, I would say, because they really haven't done much in anything since then. 55-39 Citadel over Notre Dame. And Memphis, which looked good in beating Clemson, is leading Virginia at home, 29-26. Ole Miss 19-11 over Troy. Furman 28-22 over Presbyterian. Western Carolina leading Vanderbilt 28-21. Western Carolina's good. Don't chuckle. Don't chuckle if they win that game in Nashville. They're good. Michigan leading Florida 30-29. All right, there you go. You're up to date with some of the major basketball scores of the night. Now back to recruiting, because we got more for you as we get you ready for signing day tomorrow here on Sports Talk and on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on our Twitter at SportsTalkSC. And we're also going to talk more about the high school alignment coming up in just a moment. So I had a few other notes from today to tell you about. So we talked about Devron Gatling of Alpharetta, Georgia. Plans to announce at 9 o'clock in the morning. He'll stream it on his Instagram. Helped his team win the 7A state championship in Georgia last weekend. He decommitted from Texas A&M December 11th. He made an official visit to USC the weekend of the Kentucky game. And the pointers seem to be pointing at South Carolina there. USC target, Texas Tech transfer offensive tackle Monroe Mills committed to Louisville. Visited USC last weekend. So You see, South Carolina's done some good things in the portal, John. They haven't really helped themselves on the offensive line, which quarterback, running back, offensive line, defensive end, those are all areas of need. USC target, Texas A&M, defensive tackle transfer LT Overton committed to Alabama. USC offered 2025 offensive tackle Ata Matau, 6'5", 320, Milpitas, California. He also has Ole Miss, Eastern Michigan, Northern Colorado, Arkansas State, Maine, and Campbell. That's a Clemson or USC offered him. Clemson offered him. Clemson offered 2025 offensive tackle Ata Matau, or maybe Matau, from Milpitas, California. USC offered 2026 receiver Jamel House Jr. from Newberry. He's 6'4", 180. Irmo running back Jaden Allen Hendricks committed to Oklahoma State. What in the world is Oklahoma State doing coming into this state and getting a prospect? Now, Jaden Allen Hendricks is a good-looking kid. I saw him at last a couple of weeks ago at the Touchstone Energy Bowl, and he had 60 yards on like 10 carries, and he's got really good size, and he comes from a high-level football program. He's 6'2", 225. This past season, he rushed for 2,215 yards and 25 touchdowns, but he didn't get a sniff from the Gamecocks or the Tigers. His offers: Oklahoma State, Chattanooga, Richmond, Charlotte, South Carolina State, Wofford, Citadel, Bryant, North Carolina Central, North Carolina A&T. So I don't get this one as far as why he didn't get more. And he looked good in the All-Star game. But again, teams evaluate, they make their decisions. So he's going to go out and play at Oklahoma State. Travion Dunbar, the running back from Midland Valley, tells us he is going to sign tomorrow. Just didn't say with whom. Yeah, or didn't give me a top three or anything. He just said he is. Let me go back and look at my note from him. Tell you what he said. We'll sign tomorrow, committing tomorrow, but doing a signing day thing when we go back to school. So going to do something with somebody tomorrow. Just don't know who he's going to do it with. All right. And let me just double check here real quick, make sure there's not anything I've left off the report tonight, because we've been so busy trying to piece things together here, piece things together there. So I want to double check and make sure I haven't left anything out tonight before we wrap it up and move on to other things. And let's see, we did that one. We talked about that. Addison Nichols committing to Arkansas over Clemson. Told you about Daniel Hill. Yeah, I think we've covered everything that we've got to this point. Oh, no. How did I miss this? Former Clemson defensive end David Ojibi committed to Pitt. Okay, only stayed at Clemson for his freshman year, and he is going to transfer to Pitt. Now I think we've covered everything that we've got to this point. Now to the realignment. So, yeah, they did work in the multiplier for this year's realignment that takes effect for next year, 24 through 26. So the multiplier, the three times for every student who comes in from outside your district was applied. Looking at a story by Lou Bajak of the State. So Gray Collegiate and Christ Church impacted by this. Gray will move from 2A to 4A. Christ Church will move from 1A to 4A. That is a huge jump to go from 1A to 4A. Other schools moving up to 5A: Westwood, Irmo, Greenwood, and Lugoff Elgin. Gilbert, which was in 3A, moves up to 4A, along with Camden, Brooklyn, Casey, and Lower Richland. Other private or charter schools moving up classes: St. Joseph's, 1A to 3A, Oceanside from 2A to 3A. American Leadership in Lexington will start out in 3A, as will Mountain View Prep. And Class 5A has 54 schools. Lou writes, likely to split by enrollment for all sports, leading to 2 state championships. according to the recommendations sent out by the Reclassification Realignment Committee. No region placements were given during the release and will be figured out after appeals regarding classifications. Regions will be comprised of 6 to 8 teams unless an odd number prohibits the same. They will be as close to 6 or 8 as possible. Schools have until January 9 to file an appeal, and the panel will hear any appeals January 17th through the 18th. Okay. There will be a classification organizational meeting in late January or early February. Then region placements will be released. The classification executive committee will hear appeals regarding region placement February 6th through the 8th. Any other appeals will be heard by the executive committee on February 13th. The appellate panel will hear any further appeals on February 20th. Okay. So there'll be a lot of appealing going on out there, ladies and gentlemen. So the biggest school in the state, Dorman, 3,106. The next largest is Carolina Forest at 2,800. Somerville, 2,623. Burns at 2,540. And Spring Valley, 2,502. And we told you, at the bottom in 5A, the 54th school is Catawba Ridge at 1,319. Though North Augusta has more students than numbers 53 and 54 in 5A. North Augusta shows 1,411 students. So I don't know why they are 4A and those other two are 5A. I'm sure there's a reason, and I'm sure I asked somebody, I could find out. North Augusta is the largest 4A at 1,411. The smallest 4A is Lakewood at 892. Largest 3A is American Leadership Academy at 934. Georgetown's 933. The smallest, number 38, is Charleston Charter Math and Science with 672. I should mention there's 46 schools in 4A. There are 38 schools in 3A. In 2A, Lake City is your largest school at 655, one more than Strom Thurmond. The smallest 2A school is Abbeville at 379. You got 40 in 2A. And your largest 1A school is Latta at 396. That academic and athletic industrial powerhouse. St. John's is next at 387. The smallest 1A school, the smallest school in the state playing athletics, the School for the Deaf and Blind with 39. But ahead of them, Midlands STEM Institute with 63. Calhoun Falls Charter has 83. Hunter Conard Tyler has 112 students. So there you go. That is that's how they break it down. And they'll be appealing. They'll be doing a lot of appeals here as this thing plays out. Before you do anything else, I want to go to Clemson's new offensive line coach, Matt Luke. Made the move over from Ole Miss to take over the Clemson offensive line, replacing Thomas Austin. He's a veteran coach, and he's been a head coach, of course, and got this opportunity to come to Clemson. He jumped on it, and he talked about making that move recently with the media up at Clemson when they had him in for a session. Here's Matt Luke.
When you took the time off from Georgia, time to kind of reset a little bit. At what point did you say to yourself, okay, maybe the itch is there, I'm ready to get back into it?
Yeah, that was it was a decision for me that was about family, and I really enjoyed that time. But also too, with my kids and my wife, they're a football family, and that so the first year was pretty good, but then we just started kind of getting that itch a little bit, and in my mind I just felt like it was time. Like I really enjoyed taking the kids to lunch and bringing them to weights in the morning and going to all their games. It was a great time, but at the same time they missed the locker room and they missed being on the field and going to bowl games and stuff like that. So we just all sat down as a family and felt like it was time. And then obviously when Dabo called, I'd always had a unbelievable respect for the type of program that he ran, and just from the outside looking in, the family and the faith and all those things. it all just kind of came together with the right timing, and just a chance to be a part of a great program and do something special.
During the season, it's families come on Wednesday nights for supper, and coaches, if your kids have ball games, you can go. Don't be here all the time. Was that part of it? Was that part of it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's part of it. You want to go to a great program, and I think that's what makes this place special. And I'm again excited to be a part of that.
Carolina and Greenville. What should fans expect from you when they look down on that sideline and they see you? What can the fans expect from your O-line and from you as a person?
Yeah, I think I've always been just a guy. We're gonna be O-line that's connected, and we're gonna play together. And I'm an emotional person, so we're gonna play with emotion and play with toughness. This game's meant to be played a certain way, and we're going to demand that we play that way. And but we got to it's been a fast start. I'm trying to learn the plays and learn the guys. Coach, Dabo put the names on their helmets for me, so at least he helped me out right there. But it's been a great start, and the bowl game gives me a jump start. The only way you build relationships is go out there on the grass and work together. And we got a long way to go. But I told them that after practice, we do have a long way to go, but we're going to do it together. And I think as long as we stick together, we play really, really hard, play the game the way it's supposed to be played, we'll be fine.
New-ish offensive coordinator here as well, and Garrett Riley. What have you already seen from him, and what part did he play in your excitement of coming to this program, about the offense and what he's done in his career already?
Right, and that's a good thing. For me, I've kind of been in several different offenses. I've been in spread offenses. We've been in pro style. So just doing it, unfortunately or unfortunately, as long as I have, that's why I got all this gray hair. Just I've been in several different offenses, but he's very, very innovative. They call him an air raid guy, but he's done the last 4 games what he needed to do to win football games with running the ball. So that's impressed me is how he is kind of molded and changed to do what he needed to do to win football games. So I thought that was really good.
With Watch Fox out of Columbia. Just talked to Blake Miller out there with high praise for you and the energy that you bring here. Sorry to start even asked, what's the response been like with the guys you're working with?
I think they're hungry. I think they want to learn. They want to get better. And I can't ask them to bring energy if I don't bring the energy. And I think the O-line has always been a special group just because they all stick together and they're all hungry. They want to get better. And we're kind of the only group out there that doesn't have a stat. Like our stat is the scoreboard. And so I'm just excited to get to work. And again, we got a long way to go, but we're going to stick together and we're going to put the work in. And we kind of get a bonus time, working up to this bowl game that we kind of get some extra practices to get to know each other.
What's your thoughts on high school recruiting versus transfer portal recruiting? That was mentioned that you guys may look for portal offensive line on top of high school guys.
Right.
How do those kind of mesh together?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're always looking for high school, and that's the way this program has been built. Is you're taking a freshman, you're building them, and this is about like the complete person, with the Paul journey and all the things that they do here that are special. But in this day and age, if there is a guy that can come help us, especially if a guy that's transferring has got multiple years where we can develop him, that's even better. I don't think you're necessarily looking for a guy to come in and plug and play because we got good players, but anybody that we can come in and develop, I think that's what we're looking for.
WIFF in Greenville. You mentioned some of the draw about coming to Clemson. When Coach Sweeney was in here earlier, he said that you told him this might have been one of the few jobs you would actually accept to get back into football. So I was wondering if you could just expand on those thoughts about why this felt like the right fit for you.
Well, the whole time I've been in coaching, we've always competed against each other in recruiting, and I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for what they've stood for here. And to now have an opportunity to come be a part of it is really, really cool. And I think this is a place where I think my family would be happy. It's pretty close. It's in the South. It's in my recruiting footprint where I've spent a lot of time. And it's going to be around really, really good people. And we're going to have a chance to compete for national championships. So when you add all of it together, it was a no-brainer.
Tiger Illustrated. Come in, you've got recruiting on the road, you've got this to pick up the transfer portal. How does that add a different layer to your responsibility?
Yeah, I think you got to really do a really good job of evaluating. For me, the challenge is, okay, what do we have here? I've only been on the grass with my guys twice. So what do we have here versus what are we looking for? And it can't be, you got to see next year, but what about 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road? Like, how are we building this thing and building your roster? And so I think that's the challenge for me is, okay, what do we have up front? And then how are we going to build that roster moving forward? So, but the biggest challenge is knowing what we have and then how we're going to fix it and get better.
All right, comments from Matt Luke, new offensive line coach with the Clemson Tigers. We'll hear from Chris Rumph for the first time in Jacksonville. They'd originally had him scheduled for a session while they were at Clemson, and then they rearranged that for him to speak when they get down to Jacksonville. So we'll have that covered for you next week here on Sports Talk. All right, the poll question of the week. And, Pat, you haven't commented on this. What I tried to do was incorporate more candidates for our question of the week, which is who was the most outstanding college football player in South Carolina for the 2023 season. The Twitter poll system only lets you put in 4 answers. So what I did was I attached the question 2 other times with different names, but they don't all. I think it allows you to vote in each one of the pages here of the poll question, so it doesn't have an accumulated total.
So it's like a playoff system. We'll take the winner from each of the 4 and pit them against each other next week.
I think what I'm going to do, in all fairness, I'm going to take the top 4 and have a runoff.
Love it. Okay, that makes sense. Top 4 out of all 16, not just got it. Okay.
Exactly. So right now, Xavier Legette, this foursome has attracted 1,277 votes. Legette's got 57%. Rattler's got 30%. Shipley's got 10.9, and Debo Williams has got 1.7. Then the next page, 526 votes. You got Jeremiah Trotter at 52.3, Phil Maffa at 11.6. Oh, Grayson McCall at 24%, and Sam Pinckney at 12.2. Then the third sheet has 225 votes. Tyler Huff at 72.9. Dustin Noller, he's up to a 15.1, and Trey Stewart's at 12%. So as it stands right now, we would take Tyler Huff, we would take Jeremiah Trotter, we would take Xavier Legette, and we take Spencer Rattler, and we'd have a playoff. Everybody loves a playoff.
So I notice you have 11 names, and there is one name that jumps out to me that is missing here that would have given you an even 12. And I'm sure it was just an oversight, but Nate Wiggins. I feel like his name would have had to have been put in there.
Well, I didn't, obviously. And somebody wrote about that at us, and I get that. But when you think about it, he was in the doghouse there for a little while this year. He sat, didn't he? They sit him for a couple of games, if I remember correctly. I think they sat him. I know he's a tremendous player, and he really played well down the stretch. But there was a period of time there where I don't think they were real happy with him, and he wasn't giving them a whole lot. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I'm right. If I'm right, I'm right.
He played in 9 games. I don't want to misspeak. I thought I remember he was injured, but maybe it was.
No, it was doghouse. Because I made that mistake too. I asked. I said injured or doghouse or coach's decision. If I remember correctly, it was coach's decision.
Got it. Okay, well, that makes sense then. And then another one that's surprising, but to your point, if he may still end up being one of the top 3 or top 4. But interesting to see, and I don't necessarily dispute it, but Xavier Legette voted ahead of Spencer Rattler. I think you could have done either of those, kind of interchangeable. I mean, without Rattler, would Legette have been as good? Without Legette, would Rattler have had as good of a season? So I certainly see both sides, but both of those Gamecock players absolutely deserve it. And Jeremiah Trotter, so not that you. I think those would be my top 4, but I don't mean any disrespect to some of the smaller school guys. I mean, Grayson McCall, just poor guy, had so many injuries this year. That just really set him back. Thrilled, though, to see what he can do next year up in Raleigh. I think that's a tremendous landing spot for him. I think he's going to do really, really well up there, and they're going to love having him. And then Tyler Huff, nothing but respect to that guy. I mean, he is just tough as nails. Watching that playoff game out west against Montana, playing in those frigid conditions, and I don't know if for any of our listeners or how many folks watched that game, but that completion he made and I may be misspeaking here. It was either the end of regulation or that was in overtime. I think that was the end of regulation to send it to overtime.
Yeah.
That touchdown pass he had on 4th down in the back of the end zone was just absolutely just breathtaking. I mean, he was spectacular.
All right, basketball, let me update it here before we leave you over at the Colonial Life Arena. 33-28 at halftime. Winthrop's hanging in. I'm telling you, South Carolina, they're not playing all that great. I mean, they got a good-looking record, but they're not dominating teams. Women are probably killing Bowling Green, safe to say. And give that Citadel update, 65-45 El Cid, under a minute to go. They're going to win it. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.
Someone will be right with you. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. A divided Colorado Supreme Court on Tuesday declared former President Donald Trump ineligible for the White House under the U.S. Constitution's insurrection clause and removed him from the state's presidential primary ballot, setting up a likely showdown in the nation's highest court to decide whether the frontrunner for the GOP nomination can remain in the race. The decision from a court whose justices were all appointed by Democratic governors marks the first time in history that Section